With respect to best practices for representing individuals or companies who are located in a country that is sanctioned or who perhaps are in an industry or a segment of that country's economy that has been sanctioned, it is vitally important to understand the basis for the sanctions to have been implemented by OFAC in the first place. And it is critical, of course, to determine whether the party that you're representing or the party that you're doing business with or the party that's seeking to open an account, of course it's vital to determine if they're on the OFAC list at the inception. And while that's relatively easy to check by going to the OFAC website or using one of the search engines that are available for companies or financial institutions to check customers' names against the OFAC list, that is not necessarily enough. The U.S. government is vitally interested in sanctions evasion, and sanctions evasion is a cottage industry within the countries that are facing sanctions. So it is important to make sure that you know your customers, customers, that you're aware of their banks and banking relationships, their correspondent banking relationships, so that you can evaluate, for example, the source of funds being paid by your counterparty in that country. If that source of funds is triangulating through certain third countries, it may be indicative of sanctions evasion. One of the things OFAC has informed the public about at their annual seminar is that you need to be aware of neighboring countries. So for example, Venezuela has so many sanctioned individuals and government entities that are now trying to accomplish their international business through neighboring countries, Aruba and Curacao, Colombia, for example. So if you find a Venezuelan company that is utilizing surrounding countries to enhance their ability to conduct these transactions, it may be a red flag for sanctions evasion. So that's one example of the best practices. You really need to drill down, know your customers, know the country, know the sanctions program that's in effect there, and also you need to be aware of whether any particular economic activities that are likely affected by the sanctions program are perhaps exempted by a general license or a waiver. And by that I mean in the context of a general license, OFAC may be allowing certain activities to take place with that sectoral component of the country that's been sanctioned. Alternatively, there are waivers or specific licenses that are issued to any particular company to conduct business with the blessing of OFAC. So you need to be aware of general licenses and or specific licenses. If your customer is in one of those sanctioned countries or is representing one of the sanctioned entities, you should check to see whether there's an available general license, an available specific license, or whether there's been some sort of a waiver. There's also a wind down aspect to certain OFAC programs. OFAC recognizes that by sanctioning a particular component of a country's economy, it could have chilling effect on others around the world. So they give a period of time, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. You have to look at the wind down language that OFAC issues, within which transactions can continue to take place. Sometimes there are exceptions or waivers for old debt that was incurred prior to the sanction program being implemented, and you may need expert counsel or someone with experience to guide you through whether or not a payment can come through. Best practices involve keeping yourself informed, relying on experts, and documenting everything that you do.